household income is falling. Since he became president, it is off more than 8%. A staggering, indeed unprecedented drop for a president seeking re-election. How much of a factor will it have on this election? To former Fed Governor Randall Kroszner and employment industry advisor Joanie Ruge on what to make of all of this. Randall, to you first. How big an impact?
Well, I think this is something that's very important. Average Americans have not made progress over the last few years. Some of this is due to the statistics because the average household is a little bit smaller over time. Also, we have more elderly people who tend to have lower incomes, but they're living more off of their savings, which unfortunately aren't as big as it used to be. But still, this is a major challenge, I think, and makes people feel uncomfortable.
Now, what's interesting what goes into that, Joanie, is all the things we equate our sense of self-worth, our home, our portfolio, our incomes, and in the aggregate, down 8% over the course of this presidency. The president will argue, well, yes, technically, but in the last few months, we've been picking up steam. Will that be enough?
You know, I don't know if it will be enough because it really comes back to how people are feeling. You know, we saw this week that consumer spending, you know, was also up. But then if you look at inflation, it kind of evens it out. You look at, you know, gas prices have been the reason why consumer spending is up, or people having to pay more for food. So to look at that people are having to dip into their savings and really take money out of their pocket. They're not making as much money. They're not keeping up with inflation. So their confidence isn't going to be very good. And I think it's going to be a real concern for the American people. You
know, maybe, Randall, hearkening back to your days on the Fed, when people express more confidence in these surveys, like the number out this week hitting 70 or whatever, do you guys measure that? Do you guys say, well, that's a quantifiable economic booster? Because the better you feel, I guess, presumably the more you're inclined to spend. And if that is the case, and people are feeling a tad more confident, good thing. Or what do you say?
Well, certainly, if people are feeling really uncertain about the future, they tend to pull back. That's true of businesses because of the uncertainty on the fiscal cliff, the uncertainty on regulation. They're less likely to invest. And individuals, if they don't know if their house price is going to go down, if they don't know if they're going to lose their job, they're going to pull back a bit. So certainly, the feeling of confidence, the feeling that the future will look good, allows people to spend more today. If they feel that the future doesn't look very good, they're going to pull back.
You know, Joanie, you guys are the experts, but as you know, I play one on TV and I read a prompter. So I think I'm qualified to challenge your views. But in all seriousness, Joanie, one thing I do see of late is this minimal expectation as a country we have of numbers, of our environment. You know, the housing data is still pretty bad. But as long as it doesn't keep going down, we're grateful. We look at our 401k statements and, you know, as long as they haven't been halved, we're grateful if they tick up a little bit. So that might change your thinking toward the reality. If the reality for you is years of pathetic numbers that now aren't so pathetic, what do you make of that?
Well, you know, I do think people are probably grateful that it hasn't gotten worse, but at the same time, there's still all this uncertainty out there, and
so
they're not going to start
Joanie, you're saying you don't
spending.
buy this optimism that seems to have festered of late. You don't quite buy that.
No, I really don't, because I think where people are spending money right now is they might have to still pay. Of course, housing makes up the biggest cost, and most people are underwater in their homes. They're paying more for gas, paying more for food. They're not taking those vacations. They're not getting the raises at work or seeing their incomes really increase. So there still is a lot of uncertainty out there. They're cautious. They're really waiting to see what's going to happen. And I think they're looking at both candidates' plans for, you know, who's going to have the most job creation and who they believe in is really going to give them, you know, the best, you know, next 4 years.
Randall, have people given up on the idea we can ever have another boom in this country? Have they just sort of, maybe because they've been pounded for years with this, the boom days are gone. The typical recovery you see where the jobs growth should be triple what we regularly see, these numbers should be off the charts compared to what we see, that maybe people have gotten used to this notion, well, I guess those days are gone.
I hope people haven't gotten up. I mean, this is what America is about just real positives about the future, about the ability for someone to pull themselves up, to have opportunities to have a boom, to have growth. And so I hope people haven't given up. I mean, that would be very disappointing. I don't think that's what America is about. I think there's still hope that we are going to get back on track. I think I have a lot of uncertainty about whether they're going to get there. But I don't think people have said, no, this is it, we'll never make progress. That's not what America is about.
Joanie?
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. I certainly hope that people haven't given up hope. I think they know it's out there. They're just not sure how far on the horizon before they really start to, see things turn around.
Yeah, I guess it's the old debate. Is it the light at the end of the tunnel? Is it just an oncoming train? You never know. Guys, thank you both.
Hopefully not.
Yeah, hopefully not.
Thank you.
Thank you both very much.